Okay, so a lot of you guys have been asking me to cover this whole situation with regards to Nintendo's patents that recently came out. Basically, in a nutshell, Nintendo basically got patents for summoning creatures and making them fight. But there's a lot more to it than that. And as usual with the internet, sensationalism has sort of taken over. And a lot of people don't actually know what the patent's about. And the reason I haven't covered it is because it's a 45-page document. I don't have any legal expertise when it comes to patent law, especially in America. I'm Canadian. But I did want to see if, like what other people were saying, and I found this video from Super Derek RPGs that goes into it and gives more context, because a lot of people think monster taming is dead, and it's a lot more nuanced than that. And I pretty much, after watching his video, I agree with almost everything he says regarding, like, you know, what the patent actually is and what it means based on what it says, and how it's not the end of monster taming, but it's still pretty much bullshit. So let's dive into it. Let's see what he has to say. His channel will be linked below. Please make sure to subscribe to him. Check out the full video for full context, etc., etc., etc.
Have to include some information, but you can't include the whole damn paragraph, right? So I'll cut him some slack here. I don't think that this was necessarily intentionally written to sound like the end of the world.
This is just regarding the whole, like, titling situation with a lot of these articles, right?
So let's just take a look at what happened here. Last week, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company received a US patent on summoning a character and letting it fight another. So if we scroll on down...
So if you just hear it just like that, so they have a patent on summoning a character and making it fight another character. That sounds like, oh my god, Nintendo has a patent on a summoning mechanic, something that lots of games have. No, there's more to it than that.
You know, we'll see some text, a lot of words, and then some patents that you can actually read through if you'd like. Well, first of all, it's Reddit, so I know that they're not gonna read the patent either. Here's the thing, guys, you don't have to read all of the patent, but if you do, you'll see stuff that reads like radio instructions. This is probably what my grandparents would hear if I were to try to describe to them what a JRPG is. Here's the important part, because the writers of the story actually did the hard work of reading through the patents themselves to see if there was anything here of concern. And there is, but it's not the concern that you think it is, okay? Let's walk through the summary together and figure out
this video deserves way more views. I think his video only has like 7,000 views. So we have like hundreds of thousands of people spewing misinformation about this patent. And again, I'm not defending Nintendo because it's still bullshit, but people are like coming to my channel because I'm the monster taming guy and basically saying like, ah, haha, all your games are going to get sued. They all have summoning. And it's like, no, like...
There is the bad, okay? For this patent to apply to anything, it has to meet all of the conditions here, okay? And
so all of these conditions have to be met. So number one, there must be a PC or console. Self-explanatory. 2, you can move a character in a virtual space. 3, you must be able to summon a character. They call it a sub-character, by which they mean it's not the player character, but for example, a little monster, such as a Pokemon that the player character has at disposal. Then the logic branches out with items 4 and 5 being mutually exclusive scenarios before reuniting at 6. 4, this is about summoning the sub-character in a space where there's already another character that it then will, when instructed to do so, fight.
Then Nintendo could potentially sue someone for patent infringement.
If we move forward,
they call it
the alternative scenario is about summoning the sub-character at a position where there's no other character to fight immediately. This final step is about sending the sub-character in a direction and then letting it do an automatic battle to ensue with another character.
Sub-character in this game, Nintendo, for example. So, not in the world with you? Cool.
So if we go over here, then it says, it is not clear whether this needs to be, whether this is even needed if one is previously executed. Step 4, where the sub-character will basically be thrown at another character. So, he's going to get into it, but basically, like, you have to have all these things happening. So you have to send out your Mon. It has to, like, be auto-battling, or it has to be, like, following you around. And again, this is ridiculous that they can patent a game mechanic in general, but, like, 99% of monster taming games don't have these mechanics. Like, I'm seeing people saying, like, the new Digimon game's going to get sued. How? The Digimon don't follow you around and then run away and start auto-battling for you. Shin Megami Tensei doesn't have anything like that. Dragon Quest doesn't have anything like that. All the indie games we cover, Coromon, Nexomon, none of them have stuff like that. So, people just saying like they own summoning, it's a lot more nuanced than that. Again, this is still stupid, but people need to focus on the right thing.
And then the third, this is about sending the character in a direction and doing auto battles autonomously. What I'm getting from this is that this isn't the carte blanche patent to own summoning a Pokemon or a character like a Pokemon. This is specifically trying to patent the sort of gameplay mechanics of the Pokemon Legends Arceus series or games, where you have a character out in the world, you summon a Pokemon, he can hang out with you. If there's a nearby monster, he'll fight it, and you can also just say, hey, you go off in that direction and just do some auto battling. So that's pretty different.
I think that's more like Scarlet and Violet, but
from what everybody else is kind of concerned about at this point. Obviously, Shin Megami Tensei does not do anything of the sort. None of the other Pokemon likes that I know do anything of that particular style and variety, unless you include Pal World, who is obviously the target of Nintendo's ire at this point in time.
Exactly.
So what does this mean for Pal World? Well, they were granted this, and it's that sort of patent that's happened in Japan that's allowed them to harass the developers of Pal World so much in Japan at this point. And so this obviously just gives them more ammo to take that across the pond should they...
They're basically just abusing the patent system in order to bully smaller developers. That's basically what this is.
So desire. So this was accepted without any call for revision or narrowing of the definition at any point by the patent office. So what that means is they have this patent, and it goes until like 2043 or something, 20 years after it was filed, which was initially
for a video
years
game
ago, but it's been
mechanic, for a
accepted now.
mechanic
I don't
in
think
a
this is going to
virtual
have an immediate impact on anybody's ability to make a Monster Trainer game as we know them today, but what it is going to do is affect other developers' abilities to move the series forward in the way that we've practically been begging Nintendo to do for Pokemon for ages now.
Yeah.
Now Nintendo, now that they've finally done what we've been asking them to do by creating the Arceus games, an open world Pokemon, we'll take that now. That's ours, and nobody else gets to do what we do now. I don't like that at all. And I think it's pretty rich coming from Nintendo, who borrowed heavily from Dragon Quest, who borrowed...
Yep, Pokemon, the original Pokemon's inspired by Dragon Quest IV in many ways. A lot of the monster designs. Shin Megami Tensei, or rather DDS Megami Tensei, predates Pokemon. There's Cosmic Soldier that predates that. Pokemon doesn't own monster taming, and even though the fact that they can't just patent monster taming as a whole, the fact that they can even patent this aspect of it is ridiculous.
Heavily from Shin Megami Tensei.
And then even when you see like other games they're coming out with, right? Like they're always like Pokemon Sun and Moon took a lot of inspiration from Yokai Watch and stuff like that. So Nintendo doesn't have a problem like taking from other franchises, but the second anybody takes from their stuff, they want to make a patent
to make Pokemon in the first place. By the way, Megami Tensei came out in 1987 in Japan. Nintendo was actually pretty late to the party, even not as late as Digimon, say, but still late enough that there's no way that they could really patent what I think a lot of people are afraid of them patenting. Nobody else has done anything like that so far, besides maybe Pal World, but that's kind of a moot point because now they cannot do anything like that in the future should they have wanted to. Imagine Shin Megami Tensei 6 may have already been in development, and maybe they were going to have a mechanic where you could have demons that were in your party go off and hang out next to you as you walk around the world, or maybe go do some auto battling without you. Well, now that is no longer a possibility. Same again with Digimon. You know, if the next Digimon game was going to have a character that you could hang out with you and send them off in a different direction and just kind of asynchronously do some combat, that's no longer on the table according to this patent. So while summoning a creature is maybe not necessarily a thing that was actually patented by Nintendo, despite the way some people are reacting to it, it's still bad, and you should still not want Nintendo to be engaging in this sort of anti-competitive market practice. They're already
So everybody is being hyperbolic, saying, oh, summoning has been patented, all monster taming games are dead. No, but this is stifling the creativity of potential monster taming games in the future.
Anti-consumer things, now they're doing anti-developer things, anti-indie things, and I think that that's really bad for the industry as a whole. Because Nintendo is notorious for weaponizing and being very litigious. They have a long history of leveraging lawsuits and bureaucracy against us, against not just us like me and you, but also other developers and competitors. Now, I don't necessarily think that Pokemon or Nintendo would sue Atlas for making a Shin Megami Tensei that had this sort of feature.
I'm gonna be straight up. They're too much. They're too much of a wuss to do that, because if they started going after Atlas, that means they have to go after Sega. That's a big company, right? Then they're actually going to lose money doing that. If they go after Bandai Namco, that's another big company. I'm not even saying that they necessarily couldn't win. The point is they don't want to lose money, right? They don't mind going after small indie studios where they can crush because those indie studios don't have the means to fight back. But when it comes to going after other big companies, they're not going to say anything.
Mechanic, probably not Bandai Namco either, because, well, let's be real, they have the coffers to actually fight Nintendo in a lawsuit and win and overturn this really terrible patent. So Nintendo is specifically forging this as a weapon to be used against smaller developers. And that is really shitty. And I think that that is what we should all be really angry about here. Not, oh, look at Nintendo, they think they own summoning and capturing and battling creatures. That's not what's happening here. They are stifling creativity in the industry, and now that Nintendo has finally taken the step toward a more open world style of Pokemon game that allows you to capture and battle creatures out in the real world, they are shutting that door behind them despite being highly derivative works of their own. And there's nothing wrong with work being derivative, but it is wrong to borrow heavily.
Even like Pokemon Legends and like Pokemon Sword and Shield's Wild Area and stuff looks heavily inspired by Monster Hunter stories. which came out before Pokemon, the Gen 8 Pokemon games. And like if you look at the wild area from Sword and Shield and then look at like how interactions work in the original Monster Hunter stories, you're going to see a lot of similarities there as well. It's like this whole, like, again, patenting game mechanics is ridiculous, because it's like you're just going to keep playing a game of like, well, this is like this and this is like this and this is like that. Like, it's going to get to a point where everybody could just sue each other.
From those who inspire you.
Like, you know what? Pong should just patent having controls in a game, since it's like the first game, and then, oh, nobody can make a game anymore.
And then try to pull up the ladder once you're already at the top of the game.
Yeah.
Pokemon is a multi-billion-dollar, with a B, multi-billion-dollar IP franchise, okay? They are the big dog. They are the biggest franchise in the world right now, and yet they are using their status not to make better games.
Nope.
No, it's not being used towards that ends at all. It is, all right, how do we get rid of the little guys making us look bad?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, I've never played Pal World, so I don't really have a horse in this race, or maybe the more...
And the funny thing is, like, Pal World plays nothing like Pokemon. I don't even think they have the same player base. Like, Pal World is way more like Arc than Pokemon. Like I enjoyed playing Pal World, but I'm not even that into it, because I'm more into like RPGs and stuff. Like, it's a survival game. Like, Pokemon's not losing sales to Pal World.
Analogies. I don't have a dog in this dogfight. I don't like the fact that Nintendo and Pokemon are no longer focused on trying to innovate or create better products, but rather trying to capture a market by pushing other people down, keeping other people out of their area, and cordoning off the space. Oh, this is mine until 2043. This is not the first time that a gameplay mechanic has been patented. Namco, by the way, patented putting minigames in your loading screens, which is why loading screens were boring and plain for ages. And by the time that patent finally expired, nobody even had loading screens anymore. And by the way, Namco barely ever even used that patent. It's the dumbest thing.
It's ridiculous.
Same with Nintendo. They're probably barely ever going to even use that patent, but what they are going to do is use it as a cudgel, and that sucks. And the way that Nintendo is going at this point, guys, I might still get a Switch 2 at some point.
So that's pretty much the end of the video. I just want to reiterate, guys, again, Monster Taming is not dead. We definitely have to deal with Nintendo's BS, and honestly, the Monster Taming franchise has had to deal with Pokemon in general being like this giant thing that even inadvertently at times would cause Monster Taming games to suffer, because, oh, it's a Pokemon clone. Oh, this is just like Pokemon. Like, I've gone over so many articles in the past on this channel of like games journalists calling like Shin Megami Tensei a Pokemon clone, Dragon Quest Monsters a Pokemon clone, even though these concepts existed before Pokemon. But this whole patent thing is just an example of like, in gaming, it used to be like you make the best game and that sells. Look at like Mario 64. Amazing game, so it sells well. Nowadays, it's not about creating the best product. It's about, there's a few different things, right? There's, hiring psychiatrists and psychologists so you can get the most amount of like dopamine in your games to basically like brainwash people to play and spend more money. That's like the Call of Duty way of doing things. And then the Nintendo way of doing things is, oh, let's just like legally destroy anyone who tries to do anything similar, and then, spend the least amount of money to make the most amount of sales with the least amount of effort. Like that's basically what this is. Like, this isn't like a free market of gaming anymore. This is like companies attacking each other and trying to like hoard resources that aren't even resources. They're ideas. They're trying to hoard intellectual resources from each other and just like screw over everyone else because, hey, we got to make money. So yeah, that was basically the video in a nutshell. I am glad that Super Derek RPGs did this video, because even from the second when I saw the patent information, even when I didn't even read it yet, I knew that it wasn't that. I knew they didn't just patent all summoning. I knew there were stipulations behind it, but I needed somebody to sort of break it down and discuss. And after watching a lot of videos on this topic, he pretty much said everything I wanted to say. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that and shout him out. So Monster Taming's fine. The Monster Taming Direct just came out recently. If you're new to the channel, go check that out. 40 new games, all with new trailers and stuff. Pretty cool stuff. We hosted it on this channel. It'll be linked below. And again, subscribe to Derek over here. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.